Well, hello everyone. It's still good morning. Um, it's a privilege to join you here, both as the member of Congress representing the 39th Congressional District and as the ranking member of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. Thank you, Mayor Cabrera, for that very generous introduction. Thank you to the City of Moreno Valley City Council members. And thank you, Mayor Cabrera, for mentioning the commitment of this community to March Air Reserve Base and its long history. Not only has it made economic development possible in this area, but it's also vital to our national defense, and that the fact that the City Council and the Chamber of Commerce and the community get behind its mission. It's not just about the federal dollars that flow in, it's about the contribution that the Air Reserve makes, and by extension, this community makes to our national defense. So know that you are a vital part of all of that. You know, before I entered Congress, I was a teacher at Rialto High School, and I understand that Aranya was a student there, even one of my students. And what an amazing thing to see this son of the Inland Empire still continue to serve our country by serving our veterans. So I salute you, Aranya, for that work. So forgive me if I repeat some of the history that the mayor mentioned earlier, but 107 years ago, the United States was engaged in World War I, a terrible war, perhaps the first modern war, maybe after the Civil War, of tremendous new weapons, tremendous carnage, where we saw 500,000, 1 million men perish in just a few days at the Battle of the Somme. On November 11th, the United States, joined by allied nations including France, Britain, Russia, Italy, and Japan, agreed to an armistice, a temporary cessation of hostilities in Germany. The Treaty of Versailles would soon follow, signed on June 28th, 1919, signaling the end to the Great War. But it was Armistice Day that would be celebrated in the years that followed. And in 1938, an act of Congress legally declared Armistice Day a federal holiday. Then our nation fought in World War II, mobilizing more than 16 million people, and in the Korean War, in which 5.7 million Americans served. Our nation needed a new day, a day to recognize the contributions of our surviving veterans, a day to recognize the contributions of our surviving veterans. To underscore the importance of Armistice Day, the United States chose to preserve November 11th as the commemoration date while broadening its scope. And so in 1978, the tradition as we now know it began. Veterans Day. Government offices closed, and folks gather in their community, as we're doing today, to remember and honor the service of millions of America's finest. And that's what brings us here today, to the Moreno Valley Veterans Memorial. Now, I've been told that the idea for this beautiful memorial that stands behind me arose from a Gold Star mother's appearance before the City Council. Mary was the type of woman who taught her children patriotic duty. She said to her son, "You should serve your country if you're able to." And her son Jason did just that. He was a Marine Lance Corporal serving his country in Operation Iraqi Freedom when he was killed in action on July 9th, 2003 in Kuwait. Lance Corporal Jason Tatro is the reason we stand here today. His memory and his mother, who carries it, ensured that we would have this place to gather and honor our military service members. Now, these pavers surround us, each engraved with the name of someone whose memory means something to members of our community. These names represent courage, heroism, legacy, distinction, and merit, the qualities of our fallen and of the veterans they served with who survived service. Beyond that, we are surrounded by olive trees. In ancient and religious teaching, the olive tree often symbolizes peace, wisdom, prosperity, and reconciliation. These are all the things that I wish for our nation's veterans. Peace of mind. Wisdom gained through service to one's country. Prosperity for them and their families. And most importantly, reconciliation with civilian life. It is a great honor, as the ranking member of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, to dedicate myself to fulfilling these goals, to serve those who served, to follow through on the promises of a grateful nation. The House Committee on Veterans Affairs takes on an oversight role of the Department of Veterans Affairs to ensure veterans receive crucial services and benefits. We work to preserve and expand coverage while protecting veterans. And as the mayor mentioned in his introduction, one of the most rewarding experiences of my career was leading the historic effort and bipartisan effort to pass the Honoring Our Pact Act, which finally recognized the connection between military service and the illnesses our veterans were facing when they returned home. Over 2 decades, our country recruited, trained, equipped, and deployed over 3 million service members across the globe in the global war on terror. In that period, we spent $6.4 trillion on weapons and contingency operations while sending service members into harm's way. But when I became the chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, Congress hadn't yet addressed or acknowledged that the loss of lives and the financial costs incurred during this time were only part of the actual cost of war. When our service members sign up for the military, they enter into an agreement with the United States. We promise our service members that we will care for them when they come home. But what did toxic exposed veterans actually come home to? A broken promise and a cumbersome disability benefit claims process that placed the burden of proving toxic exposure on the veterans themselves. Put simply, they didn't have access to the care and benefits that they were entitled to. America's message to toxic exposed service members and veterans was simple. We thank you for your service, but the price tag for addressing your toxic exposure was just too high. We can't afford to take care of you. But thanks to the work of veterans, Gold Star families, advocates, veteran service organizations, Congress began to recognize this error. They agreed that we couldn't renege on our responsibility. So we worked diligently for years to find a bipartisan compromise that will follow through on our promises. That agreement took shape in the Honoring Our Pact Act of 2022, which expanded and extended eligibility for VA health care and benefits for veterans with toxic exposure and veterans from the Vietnam War era. I have to pause for a moment because I see some veterans from that era here today. I just want to say to you all who served in that conflict, welcome home. And while the Canyon Springs Choir, you sang a beautiful rendition of God Bless America. Thank you for that. It was very moving. Very moving. But even as moving, I had to lift my camera phone up to take a photo and a video of Joel, who's in that wheelchair, standing up, grasping the pole in front of him, because I can tell he's got some challenges. He's in a wheelchair. But for most of that song, he stood saluting the choir. And I was thinking about what is so special about that song. Because, you know, our national anthem is an anthem. It's a heroic remembrance of, the War of 1812 and, the ramparts that and the flag that was still standing after the battle. But God Bless America, when you think about it, is actually a prayer. I was thinking about that, Reverend Sykes, that's what's so moving about that song. And to see Joel standing the entire time, even though it was difficult, and two friends had to hold him up, I could feel all the way down on the other side of Councilwoman Baca the love and passion he has for this country. And it made me think, as much as we are divided as a nation now, crown thy hood with brotherhood. Crown thy good with brotherhood. That's a different song, right? But that's also a prayer too. It's also a prayer. If we're good as a people, we'll be blessed with brotherhood. But as much as we are divided, we come together on this day and we sing that song or listen to that song being sung. And we know we live in a great nation, and it's a great nation still worth fighting for. And so we thank all the veterans who did their service when it came, when the call for service came. But I just want to finish by commenting on, it's my small little honor to answer the call, to do right by our veterans, to pass that landmark legislation known as the PACT Act, because we not only answered the suffering of veterans that were suffering from toxic exposure to burn pits, but we went all the way back to the Vietnam War era. And there was unfinished business with Agent Orange and exposure to Agent Orange. Unfinished business with radiation exposure to some of our veterans that went and cleaned up radiation-exposed atolls. Since August of 2022, the VA has approved nearly 2 million PACT Act claims. We've made progress, but there's more to be done. Beyond our regular hearings, we're hosting roundtables to hear directly from the veterans community. We invite veteran service organizations, academics, researchers, and experts to better understand the challenges that veterans face and the potential solutions. The work is not done. We've heard stories from Area 51 veterans in the Nevada Test and Training Site who have been exposed to radiation, who were not included in the PACT Act. Much as I wanted to make this Honoring Our PACT Act a comprehensive bill and include every little veteran group I could find, we missed some. We've heard from families living at Camp Lejeune, members of the veterans community that were in Hawaii at Red Hill, from the aviation community. Aviators get exposed to radiation, and many others. And we continue to lesson and learn, and I hope that we will continue to work to include them. So in conclusion, thank you for your service is never enough. I'll end with this. There's more we need to do, and I promise you, I see that there's more to do, and we'll continue fighting every day in Washington, D.C. to do right by you, to deliver for you, and to honor your service truly and properly. And with that, a sincere, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans here and all the families that are there with them. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless Moreno Valley. God bless the United States of America.